Hello. Okay. Quiz of the week. What was my most asked question of 2018? Anybody? My most asked question of 2018 was, bro, will you be getting another van? That was the most asked question. I think I was asked that 200 times. I'm sure it's 200 times, something like that. And I answered the question every single time, exactly the same. No, I won't be getting another van. And then it was followed up with another question. How about an automatic? No, I won't be getting another van. Automatics are quite easy to drive. No, I won't be getting another van. You know, well, I miss you in a van. Shame about that, but I won't be getting another van. Have you considered just a day van? No, I won't be getting another van. What about a van where you can just go out for the weekends? You can keep your car and have your van. No, I won't be getting another van. Yeah. I won't be getting another van. That was the most asked question of the year. Bro, will you be getting another van? If you're new to this channel, the lower half of me, I have osteoarthritis, I have lymphedema, or whatever it's called, and I have tendonitis. I often find it very, very difficult to walk, let alone drive. I think sometimes I find it impossible to drive, so I don't really drive a lot. I gave up the van life after 4 years, nearly 4 years, because I just physically was struggling. I really was struggling. When I started my van life, I've got to keep an eye on the time. Okay, 10:54, 10 past. This camera turns off at about 20 minutes, so if this is going to be a long video, I'll turn it off, turn it back on. I made up my mind to go travelling, but I wanted to be a travelling traveller. Now what I mean by that obviously is some travellers, there's nothing right or wrong with any of this, but some travellers like to just remain in one area, and that's fine, you know. Some travellers have 2 or 3 areas that they really enjoy, so they spend a bit of time in 2 or 3 different areas. I wanted to experience everything. I went to Scotland, which I wanted to do. Wasn't very well there, and I came back probably too early, but rightly so because I was ill. But I loved it. And Wales, I went to Wales and Dorset and Devon and Norfolk and Somerset and so many counties between, like Wiltshire, Oxfordshire, coming up country, Shropshire, you name it really. East Coast, the South Coast, West Coast. I went to so many places and I absolutely loved it. But my health deteriorated and it became difficult for me, very difficult for me, not just to drive, but to change the gas bottle, to carry shopping in, and it went on and on and on. Mostly it was driving that I found very, very difficult. So I ended up spending quite a lot of time, in the last year, quite a lot of time on sites, which is okay. You know, I kind of still enjoyed it. I still had a sense of freedom. I still had no rent, no mortgage. I had to pay site fees, but I had no rent, no mortgage. You know, no water bills or council tax, things like that. You know, I didn't have to earn a certain amount to pay my rent or my mortgage. I didn't feel obliged to do that. I didn't have to work. You know, I just felt, I did feel a sense of freedom, definitely. So that was great, but it wasn't what I wanted, and it wasn't what I set out to do, be a travelling traveller. So, excuse me a minute. we're not long in from a bimble, very, very cold bimble. Both just had a little drink. So I'm having a drink as well. We're both a bit tired today. Yeah, so it wasn't what I set out to do, which was be a traveller, you know. And as I say, there's nothing wrong with staying in one area. You do whatever you do. It's just that that wasn't my remit. It wasn't my plan. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And I ended up staying on these sites. And as I say, they were fine. There was no problem. But it wasn't ideal for me. And I thought, if I'm going to stay in one area, it might be cold. I might as well be in bricks, you know. If I'm going to stay in one area, I might as well sell it, buy a car, live in that area, but travel out if and when I can. And go and explore, things like that. Sorry, I'm just rolling a fag. And that's what I decided to do ultimately. You know, it took a while and there was a few false starts and all the rest of it. But this video is about a year in bricks, because I've been a year in bricks. Now there's so many differences really between van life and being in bricks. And I loved the van life. I took to the van life like nothing, you know, like a duck to water. You know, it was just the first day, day one, I felt right. I felt this is me. I've arrived, you know. And it's to this very day, I'm 56. I lie and say I'm 26. I'm 56 now. Living in the van life is the best thing I've ever done in my life. Without a shadow of a doubt. I absolutely loved it. Initially, for about 3 years, I absolutely loved it. My favourite place I ever went to was Cumbria, without a doubt. I went to Cumbria twice, but I stayed for 9 weeks on the second time. And I just loved it, you know. It's a funny thing, really. You can be parked up somewhere, middle of Wales, on your own, and another van might pull in to your park up. And you get chatting, and you're best of friends, your family, you know, and you end up, you have a meal with them, or coffee with them, or go for a bimble with them, whatever, and they might stay 2 or 3 days, you know, whatever, and you end up so closer than family. You end up speaking to them more than you've ever spoken to another family member, ever. And it's not a bullshit conversation. It's a deep and meaningful conversation, because you've got the time to explore your thoughts and ideas and opinions and things like that. So I met some fantastic people on my travels. Travellers, day travellers if you like, people in bricks. I got some good friends out of travelling. So it brought me a lot, really, a hell of a lot. So I do miss it. I really miss it. And I think very, very often I think about the people that I met, and I miss them. I think about the places where I went to, and I miss them. I miss the places. I would dearly love to get in a van and go to some of these places again. I don't think it would be quite the same though, would it? You know, your first time somewhere is kind of exciting and interesting, and it's full of all sorts of different things, you know, the newness of the place. So it wouldn't be the same. So it'd probably be a waste of time. But I'm not going to buy a van. To be honest, for about 6 months, the first 6 months of living in bricks, I thought I would. I honestly thought, I'm not going to take to this, you know. But I have. Luckily, we've ended up here in the little village that we love, and we've got friends in the village, we've got all the neighbours that I know are nice. And I'm quite happy and quite content here, you know. Had I have arrived in a different town or something, or a city, well, I wouldn't have lived in a town or a city, but it's not for me, you know. But yeah, I miss so much. I miss, you wouldn't believe what I miss, just the peace and the solitude and the quiet. I miss just sitting on my step, being absolutely silent and seeing a fox walk past. I saw badgers, owls, loads of little robins and birds. Wonderful. And on the whole, I think the van life is fantastic. I would still encourage anybody, if you're interested in going to live in a van, just do it. Stop making excuses and do it. Give it a year, 1 year, and see how you feel. If you don't like it, move back to bricks. However, I would say, if you're of a certain age, and what I mean by that is probably if you're 40 plus, it would be a good idea to have something in the background. You know, if you've got a place to rent out, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? But we can't all live in a world like that. I certainly couldn't. Yeah, but if you've got somewhere else to go, if you've got another idea, another plan, something else, then I would keep that, I would hold that back just in case, because we don't know what's going to happen with our health. You know, your health deteriorates, we know that. You know, from being this bouncy child and what have you. You know, it's not too long, is it? Maybe in your 20s or 30s you start wearing reading glasses. And then you realise you can't run like you used to. You can't even walk as far as you used to, you know. You creak a bit and you ache a bit, and to bend down and put your socks on can hurt, you know, whatever. And then you could be diagnosed with an illness or something, you know, and you would then need to think, okay, what am I going to do? Because you're living in a van, so really, ideally, you want to be living in bricks. By living in bricks, it gives you more access, easier access, I should say, to medical, you know, to your doctor, to your dentist, to your hospital, things like that. You're definitely warmer, definitely warmer. You know, most of the time I'm in a t-shirt. It's a cold day today, but it's lovely and warm in here, so I'm in a t-shirt. I would have been in 3 coats and 2 hats in Ishi, in my van, Ishi I called it. The worst thing was my feet was incredibly cold. I think all the time, summer and winter, just freezing cold. Having osteoarthritis and osteoarthritis in the ankles, you can imagine what cold feet do. You know, I was in constant pain, 24 hours a day pain. And that's not good, is it? You know, in bricks you've got a hot bath, hot shower whenever you want. It's easier to do your laundry. You can stock up on food so you don't have to go out those times when you can't go out or don't want to go out. But you are stuck in one area, one view, this view. Now, I'm lucky because my view is of trees, you know, from this window, from my lounge window. So I'm lucky in that respect. I'm lucky that it's a quiet village, and I'm lucky there's a sense of peace within this village, and I love that, absolutely love it. I like cold air, and we've been going out at night, about 9 o'clock at night. Of course it's pitch black at about 5 o'clock at this time of year, so we've been going out and it's been absolutely pitch black, but so silent, so quiet. We don't see a soul. We walk up and down the village, through the tracks and what have you. Lovely, peaceful. Excuse me. So it's fantastic in lots of ways, but then van life is fantastic in lots of ways. So you've got to make up your mind which you would prefer to do. I would say give van life a try, give it a try for 1 year. It's a waste of time buying a van and trying it for a week and saying it doesn't suit. That's pointless, you know. Give whatever you do, try it for a year. But I miss the van life. I miss the travellers, I miss the places, I miss the kind of little adventures and not knowing. I miss that, the just not knowing where you're going to settle tonight, who you're going to meet. You know, I miss all of that. Every day was different, I can tell you that much, every single day. So it's very special to me, really, the van life, very, very special. And I've got fond memories, you know. I'm glad that I moved into bricks when I did, because I just started to get a bit, very nearly angry with myself, you know, with my health anyway. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I couldn't drive to where I wanted to be, you know, and then when I did, I couldn't really get out and do the walks that I wanted to do, or that I did when I first started the van life, you know. So it had changed for me to quite a degree, really, and I didn't want to get to a stage where I just hated living in that way. So bricks came to me just at the right time, really. You know, I think things often do. But yeah, I really do miss it. So of course that begs the question, bro, will you get another van? It begs the question, if you miss it that much, why not get another van? Okay, I won't get another van. Number one, I can't afford to have a car and a van. I haven't got the money. I won't get another van because I've done it. I've done everything that I needed to do or wanted to do in a van. And yes, as much as I miss it, you know, it did become difficult. Why get a van and go and park somewhere and be cold? Be tight for space? Struggle, you know, whatever, getting in and out of steps or changing gas bottles or whatever. Why put myself through that again? I'm not going to do that, you know. The good idea is to get a day van and to go out in the day, spend the day somewhere and then come back. That's a great idea. And it's something that I have considered on and off, you know. But that would mean driving. And I struggle to drive. Luckily where I am here, I've got everything around me, I don't need to drive. So, and if I've got an automatic, it's still driving, it's still sitting in one position for more than sort of half an hour to get anywhere, you know. So I won't get a van for a million different reasons, and I have done what I wanted to do, definitely, and I really enjoyed it as well. Happy memories. I've got lots of photographs, lots of videos. While I was travelling, I kept a handwritten journal from day one. I didn't write in it every day, I wrote in it if and when, just whenever I fancied. And I know where it is, and one day I will get it out. It's a big thick book. One day I'll get it out and I will flick through it maybe. It's just like a memory book, I suppose, now. That's what it's become. It was just a journal of where I'd been, who I'd met, how I was feeling, whatever, you know, and it's all good in there, good stuff, I'm sure. Apart from, you know, I had some bad times. Obviously my mum died during the time that I was travelling, so that was in there. And there was a couple of other things that weren't great, so that was in there. You know, things like that. But on the whole, mostly everything was absolutely fine. And I really, really enjoyed it. So that's to answer that question, really. Will I get another van? Well, we now know the answer, don't we? If I was to give anybody any advice, I would say, if you can, the best of both worlds. And I know several people, Danny, my lovely, wonderful mate Danny, he's come to see me twice in 2018. Thank you, Danny. Really appreciate that. Lovely company, great man. To me, he's got the best of both worlds. He's got bricks with his wife and he's got a motorhome. And he shoots off if and when, whenever, wherever. That is the best of both worlds to me, you know. And if you can physically do that, and if you can afford, you know, financially to do that, that is a way to go. I wouldn't recommend full-time van life to anybody probably over 50, because you're never quite sure what's going to happen, as I say, with your health. You're never quite sure. It's okay if you can rent a property out, as I've said, or have something in the background to return to. That's great, but that's not always the case, is it? What's the time? Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off and then I'll turn it back on. Here we go again, part 2. Sorry, the camera always dies after about 20 minutes, so if I do a long video I have to try and keep my eye on the time, and away we go again. And I thought this might be a long video because I'm trying to encompass 4 years of travelling and 1 year of being in bricks into a 20-minute video. Now, you wouldn't believe the people I met when I was travelling. Loads and loads of video makers. You know all their channels. I met virtually everybody, not all, but virtually everybody that was making videos at that time. And I met so many people that were strangers that have really impacted on my life in such a big way. I met a guy who was a recluse, and he told me that. I was in Scotland taking photos of this beautiful loch, and this guy was there. There was 2 or 3 different people, and they all went and just left me and this guy there. So obviously you strike up a conversation, or I do, and I just said, "Hello mate," I said, "Beautiful views." Anyway, he was very, very Scottish in his language, obviously, and he said, "Can I stand over here?" So I went and stood where he was, and he said, "Just have a look through there. This particular loch was actually like the top of Scotland. The shape, the loch was the shape of the top of Scotland. Amazing." And he said, "See those trees over there? 9 years ago in the winter, I was travelling past them. They're about 20 foot tall. They had so much snow on them. The tops were bent, touching the ground. Absolutely amazing." And we had a conversation, and I said, "Where do you live and how long have you been here?" and all the rest of it. Anyway, he lives on the north of Skye. He lives 15 miles off of the main road. And then he said, "And I'm a recluse." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "That's cool." I said, "What about a living? Do you do anything for a living?" He said, "I'm a photographer." And then he laughed. He said, "Obviously." So I said, "Why?" And he said, "If you live on the Isle of Skye," he said, "there's nothing better to be. He's a photographer." And he works for a couple of different companies, but it's all internet based. They tell him where to go, what to take, all the rest of it, how many photos they want, and he sends it on a file through the internet, and they pay him into his bank via the internet. He doesn't meet anybody. Wonderful. And we got into a conversation, and he said he was married and his wife died, and for 28 years now he's been living in the same place that they used to live in, and no visitors, nothing. He said, "I'm total recluse, don't speak to anybody." And he said, "You're the first person I've spoken to in," and then he went, "Trust me, a long, long, long time." I said, "Wow, thank you then for talking to me, And he's left this lasting impression on me. We probably spoke for about 20 minutes, something like that. And I always think of him, not always, I occasionally think of him, and I wish him well, and I hope he's okay. And, he was a lovely, lovely man, really nice man, very softly spoken, very Scottish, but very soft. And what I think about him most is that conversation meant quite a lot to me, but I bet it meant loads to him. And I bet he has dissected every single word that I said to him. I bet he remembers every single word, Or perhaps it even changed his life in some way, just meeting me. Who knows? I spoke to a young lad who was very, very upset, who I met, who his mum had just told him that she'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And he was really upset, bless him, And we had a fairly lengthy conversation, probably half an hour all in all, and he was doing much better by the end of the conversation. And I said, "How are you feeling now?" And he said, "Much better, thanks." And I said, "Good." And I said, "How's Mum feeling now?" Because what he'd done, she told him, and he ran out the house. Just ran. And I said, "How's Mum feeling now?" And he said, "Shit, I've got to go." And off he went, running down the hill, bless him, you know. So I was glad to have met him because, you know, who knows what would have happened over that situation. Would he have stayed all day away from his mum? All night, perhaps? Don't know. You know, but I put things into perspective for him a little bit, you know, in a way. I met another young guy who'd broken down, bless him, and he was really upset, and it was his first day at work. He was so upset, and it was pissing down with rain. I know nothing about mechanics, and I said, "We'll come into Ishi." Anyway, he came into Ishi, and I put the heating on and made him a coffee, and he phoned his dad, who was in a meeting, who couldn't come out till 7 o'clock. This was about 5 o'clock. So his dad couldn't be there till 7. I said, "Fine." I said, "We're not going anywhere." So we stayed and we had a conversation for 2 hours. And obviously, you know, I cheered him up a bit and what have you. But his dad was lovely, really, really grateful when he turned up. He said, "Oh, thank God you turned up." And I said, "Well, you know, it's just as it is, isn't it, really, you know." So he was nice, really nice. I met so many travellers that are sort of new age travellers, some that I knew from years and years ago as well, dotted around the country in Bristol and different places. So that was a good, like a reconnection with people, and that was really good. I met subscribers, several, well not several, 50 or 60 subscribers maybe, something like that. And I think of several of them actually, but two that spring to mind was Roy and Ray, and I met them at a place called, I believe it's called Unverglass in Scotland, near Loch Lomond. Yeah, it would be the very next stop from Loch Lomond. We overnighted there, I overnighted there, and they turned out, so we spent 3 days together, and that was really, really nice. Lovely people, Roy and Ray. And loads of other people that I met, different subscribers and what have you. And I would just walk into a shop sometimes and people would say, "Hello." And I'd turn around and there was somebody there, you know. "I watch your videos." And so I'm sorry to hear that. There must be another better channel. Just so many people I met. Now, you wouldn't meet these people living in bricks. You know, since I've been living in bricks, my 1 year, I've met people, but I only meet people that live around this area. So they talk about the village or about the area or whatever, you know. So you meet a different type of people, you know, not necessarily better or worse, just different type of people. You know, I particularly enjoyed when I was travelling the fleeting meetups, if you like. Just different random people just suddenly come into your life and then they're gone, you know. I really liked that for some reason, I did. I met, there was a guy called Danny, not the Danny I just mentioned, there was a guy called Danny who decided to buy a van and go and live in his van, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but he was full of kind of trepidation and didn't know where to go and all the rest of it. Anyway, he set sail, went to Cumbria, and he got on the A66. I was parked up in a place called Threlkelt, something like that. And I'd been there for about a week. Now, he came in this end and he could have turned off at any time. And he just, for some reason, carried on going, saw the sign for Threlkelt and he thought, "That's the one," for some unknown reason, and he just turned off. Now, from that road, he could have turned off again 2 or 3 times, but didn't, carried on going, and then he thought, "I'll turn off here," went down the bottom of the track, and there I was. So he spent his first ever night chatting to me, and we became friends, you know. We spent 2 or 3 days there, and then he had to go, and then about a week later, he came back to Cumbria because I was there for about 9 weeks. But he came back there to a different place, which is called High Hill in Keswick, where lots of travellers for years have been parked up. Now they're not allowed. It's no overnight parking, double yellow lines, all the rest of it. Ridiculous, because it goes nowhere, the road. But whatever. Anyway, he came there. Unbeknown to me, a bit of a surprise and what have you, so it was lovely. And we spent maybe a couple of weeks there, before he had to go off again. So that was really nice. And there were several like that as well, several fairly new people living on the road, if you like, or in vans. And we just linked up, we just met up out of the blue somewhere. It was great. As I say, you don't meet those sort of people when you're in bricks, but, obviously you wouldn't expect to. So I've had a fantastic time living in a van. I would recommend it to anybody, but I would say if you're of a certain age, try to have something in the background. That's all I would say, really. So living in bricks, as I say, it's given me hot baths, hot showers, nice and warm, in a t-shirt. Even it's freezing cold outside, but in a t-shirt in here because we're lovely and warm. I live in a place of peace, which I love. It's so quiet here. I love to spread out and do my art. I did this the other night. It's a bit crazy, but what do you reckon? At the minute I'm having an art sale, Ishi art sale, 3rd, 10th, 17th. Have a look on eBay if you can be bothered or not. So I spread out and I can do my art. I can leave it overnight to dry, leave stuff out. I can do my sketching and leave my sketches there while I'm working on a piece, and I can carry on looking at my sketches and things like that. That's what I can do. Couldn't do it in Ishi. I was too cramped. So it's given me more space, obviously. And I do like it. In fact, I love it. I love being warm. I really do. I love the village. I love the walks around the village and all the rest of it. I like the lazy feel as well. You go out and there's always somebody. Not always. There's always somebody really to chat to. There's occasionally somebody to chat to, but they seem to have all the time in the world as well. Just because it's a quiet, gentle-paced village, which for me it works. Might drive other people mad, but for me it works. Waste time lighting this again, but I'm gonna. Then I'm gonna get some food. Oh, I must. I'm gonna do a big spaghetti bolognese, so I must start that and have that in the slow. Oh, that's the other thing. Cooking. Hey, Jules, I've got a big sink, big cooker, big kitchen. If you followed the channel Jules in the Motorhome, he's now called The Life of Jules. And our little standing joke, but it's fact, is how much we used to struggle with the silly little kitchen, particularly the sink. In a motorhome, why do they do a sink? It's 3 inches deep, if that, and it's that big. You could make it bigger, I'm sure you could. But yeah, we used to get fed up, actually, both me and Jules, that we couldn't cook a proper meal. You can do, but it's a bit of an effort. But here I find that very easy. I do roast dinner sometimes, and I use lots of pots and pans and all the rest of it, and I've got the space to do that. I've got a big oven, big kitchen, big sink, absolutely ideal. So I do enjoy that. But today I'm doing my spaghetti bolognese. That means I'll cook everything up. I've got onions and mushrooms and whatever, your mince and all the rest of it. Do all of that, get all that sorted, lob it into this slow cooker, let that just cook all day long, and then I'll have a bowl tonight, a bowl tomorrow night, and then hopefully the 3rd night we'll see. And I love doing that. I absolutely love doing that. To have electric, just like that, without thinking, I've got to try and climb up there and clean my solar panel. Or, You know, I don't want to park under these trees. I want as much light to touch my solar panels as possible. It was just a bit of a pain, and then you'd run out, you know, and of an evening, you know, particularly where you're going to park up. You know, if you're going to park up perhaps on the end of a council estate or something, you know, somewhere view of houses, you've got to think, okay, I won't put any lights on. So you sat in the dark really, and if it's dark at 4 o'clock at night and it doesn't get light till say 9 in the morning, just realised I've left the my water on. I've got to go and turn that off in a minute. I got a immersion heater and I just heard it go bloop like that, so it's boiled to death. It's been on about an hour. That's another thing though, piping hot water. Just turn the tap on, piping hot water, click of a switch, electric. So for me, living in bricks is working out. It is working out, and I will not go back to van life. I will not be buying a van. I enjoy living in bricks. I enjoy the space. I enjoy I've got a big shower, plenty of room in there, piping hot water. You know, it's all good really. But life is what you make it, isn't it? As well, so you make the best of whatever. I certainly made the best of travelling. The different places I went to was just amazing, and now I'm making the best of being in bricks. You know, ideally I didn't want to be in bricks, but now that I am, I'm enjoying it. It's good. You know, I can't say it's any better or any worse than travelling. Not really. I couldn't pick and choose. I just live my life, you know, and enjoy my life as much as possible. Okay, we're off then. I'm going to go and turn the water off now. I've thought about that, and get cooking in my big kitchen. Take care. Thank you for listening. I know it was a long one, but as I say, it's 4 years of travelling and 1 year of being in bricks. Trying to get that into one video. Take care then. Be well. I'll try and be beautiful.